Hi, thank you so much for joining me for day 20 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life, round 16. And today's sketch, you can see in the top left-hand corner there, has been provided by Miss Carrie of Miss Carrie's Creations. I'll add her details in the information box down below. So you can see I'm scrapping two photos of the kids' pumpkins from back in 2016. We carved these before they had their Halloween celebrations. I just snapped some pictures of them on the windowsill. They're not the best photos, but they show the pumpkins and it's recording the story. So I've grabbed my Hey Little Magpie stamps and I'm just creating a background for these photos to sit on using Lost Shadow ink by Tim Holtz in his Distress Oxides. So you can see I'm just layering the stamp over itself and moving it around to make sure that it's showing on both sides of the strips that I'm going to be adding. I'm working on the left hand side of the sketch, but I have rotated it through 90 degrees so that the strips go vertically rather than horizontally. I just think that will suit my photos better. So now I'm going in with a second stamp from that same set. I think it's called Brushstrokes. It's on the Hey Little Magpie website. And I'm using antique linen because I just wanted a subtle yellow and just using half of the stamp really, just to stamp that over the top of the grey. I'm just doing a couple of strips on each side just to bring in a different colour. And then after I've done that, I'm going to come in with an orange ink. I'm so sorry, I forget which one it is. I'm pretty sure it was dried marigold. Just spraying that with some water to water it down, and then I'm just going to add some splatters of that orange. And again, it just gives a really subtle look to the page, and as it dries it's almost like a peach colour rather than orange. So I shall leave that to dry and then come back to it now. So now I'm going to go through some of my paper scraps. Now I went through my orange and yellow folder of paper scraps and I was amazed. I had barely any orange, it was nearly all yellows. So I went through my Halloween one next, which this piece is from. I've just got a few bits of Halloween, not an awful lot. And then I went through some of the collections. So this one is from Chamel's Main Character Energy. And I went through 49er Market Spectrum Gardenia and some of my autumnal papers as well, just so that I had a little bit more orange going into this layout. I don't use a huge amount of pattern paper on this because I wanted to use my washi tapes again, and you'll see that in a minute. And I'm just cutting the strips no bigger than 8 inches tall, and just going through. I did pull out some of the gold and yellows as well because these pumpkins are really quite pale in the picture, so I wanted that variation in the colours that I'm adding to the strips. And I am going to distress all the edges once this is done, of course. That piece is from Groovy Darling from Jen Hadfield. So as I say, I've just gone through a few different ones. And I think that 7 is the number that I end up with. Just this last one here now. And you can see I've got varying tones of yellows and oranges. Really happy with how that looks. So just changing the placement around, I wanted the darker colours to sort of mirror one another and to make sure that I had oranges on the edges. Just bringing those photos back in to check that I'm happy that I've got the right number of strips. And then here I'm just going to, as I say, distress all of the edges of all of the strips of my Tim Holtz Edge Distresser. I won't make you watch that because it's literally just distressing them all and putting them back in the position that they're in. So that's all of them done now. And then I'm going to adhere the first strip and the last strip down onto the background. This just tells me the spacing for the washi tape that I'm going to add as well. And you can see it all on the left hand side of the screen there. I pulled out some bits from my autumn kit that I did a video on. If you've been watching my channel, you probably saw my Hey Little Magpie haul, and I've had some 49er Market autumnal pieces from both Vintage Orchard, which is this year's collection, and Artoptions Spice, which is last year's collection. They work really nicely together. I didn't go mad on the papers, but I've got quite a few of the ephemera pieces, so and the laser cuts and things. So that's what I'm using for this layout. But as I say, I did go through my scraps and older papers to choose some orange strips. So I've also gone through my washi tape, and you can see that piled up on the left hand side. So those two little trays are new to Hey Little Magpie. They're printed by my son's business, JD3D Print, and we sell them either individually or in sets of 3, and they're absolutely brilliant for sorting and organising your embellishments when you're creating at your desk, particularly if you haven't got a lot of space like me, or for going to a crop. I think that'd be brilliant just to corral everything together so that it doesn't spread everywhere, which is what I tend to do. So you can see here I'm just going through varying washi tapes. I pulled out blacks, golds, pale pinks, and I don't know if I went for any oranges actually. I think that's it, and I'm just going to add them as strips across the page. This was the end of a roll, which is really satisfying. So I've just added a bit top and a bit bottom because I knew that the photo would cover the rest of the bits, so that's fine. So now I'm just going to go through with these papers and overlap. So they will hide some of the washies and things, but that's what I wanted. I wanted different layers. The same as with that inking down the sides. You can see now how that's working out. Just a different layer on the background before I started adding all this texture with the washi tape and then the distressed papers. And once again, this is a brilliant design for using up scraps. Just go through your scraps and see if you've got any pieces that are 8 inches or 7 inches long, and this will work perfectly. So that's where the photo is going to sit, and then here are some of the bits that I pulled out from that 49er Market ephemera. So these are chipboard pieces. The pumpkin's title is a chipboard piece, as are all the pumpkins I'm adding around. We don't have a huge number of pumpkin patch photos with my children. The ones that I do have, I've already scrapped to death, really. So I thought I would take advantage of this and use up some of those pumpkins. That orange chipboard piece says pumpkin time, so I thought that would work really nicely. And then I've got that lovely laser cut piece that says more pumpkins please. And as I say, these are all from 49er Market, either Artoptions Spice or Vintage Orchard, and they're all still available at Hey Little Magpie if you're interested. So I'm just mounting the photos up onto foam pads. These are the 25mm Sticks 2 foam pads, which are sold on a roll. Absolutely brilliant. I use them all the time. Highly recommend them. And then I decided I wanted to add some stamping to these strips, pretty much like I did for day 1 of 30 Days of Sketches. So I'm using the LE Studio Home Sewn Stitches stamp again. We've just restocked that at Hey Little Magpie if you're interested. And I'm using my archive link so that when I add some splatters later on, this isn't going to bleed. It will stay as a crisp image. So today I decided to use the cross stitch stamp because I've not actually used that one yet, I don't think. It was clean, and I tend to use these with a black ink, so I'm pretty certain that I haven't used it. And I'm being a bit lazy. I'm just using half the stamp just to stamp top and bottom on these strips because I know that they're going to be covered with the photos and ephemera, so I don't really need to go the whole length and try and line things up. So more or less stamping on every strip, I think I have, and then maybe 1 or 2 of the washi tape as well. I'm just going for it. I'm not overthinking things, as I often do. I'm just trying to create a nice layout. So this last strip, I do a panic, if I'm honest, and decide to add it right the way along the strip. And then because I've done that side, I decide I need to do this side as well. Looking at the final layout now, everything's covered. I didn't need to do that at all. But, you know, sometimes when you think, oh, if there's not stamping there, I'll be really annoyed. That said, it's just crosses, so I could have easily gone in with a black pen, I'm sure, and filled it in if I needed to. So this is what I love about this stamp set. She's got these little, they're almost like thread ends that you can then stamp to the end of your line of stitching. And it makes it look like these are the ends of the threads just flying free, I suppose, at the end of each of the strips. So I'm just adding a few of those to the top and a few of them to the bottom. Not on every single strip of cross stitch, just I think I've chosen 4. Yeah, 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom. So now I've done that stamping, I can come in with the photos and I'm committing. And you can see they're just inside those strips of paper. I haven't taken the strips too far. I didn't want it to be a huge bed going right the way across the page. I wanted it to be fairly contained. So they just peek out of either side. And the easy way of doing that was because these photos are overlapping. So I knew I had a little bit of leeway to play with so that I could get them with a little bit of the paper showing on either side. So I'm just going back in and repositioning all these chipboard pieces that I've been playing with. I know that that title has got to go up onto foam pads because it's over the photos, which are already raised onto foam pads, and I think it would just be too awkward if it wasn't. On the whole, the rest of the pumpkins, even though they're overlapping one another and they are chipboard, I'm just going to glue them down as they are. I'm not going to add any more foam. I don't mind them sitting at an angle, and when it's chipboard, it's nice and solid, so they're not going to bow and bend in my page, so that's absolutely fine. So here are the foam pads that I'm just adding to the bottom of the title, and these are again Sticks 2 foam pads, but these are the 12mm. I think they're 6mm by 12mm, and they're just brilliant for finer detail work like this. So just peeling off the backing paper, and it's easy release backing paper. It's wider than the actual foam, so very easy to peel off on both this size and the 25mm size. So now working on those pumpkins on the left. I'm still not quite sure how they're going to sit, so just having a little play, and I'm much happier with them like that. I think it looks nice the way they're staggered around the title rather than being on the same level underneath the title. So just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to get those stuck down. This is brilliant stuff. It really does hold things very well. And then sticking the ones down on the right hand side. And you can see those little trays that I was talking about. So they're just, one's holding my washi and one's holding the ephemera pieces. They're just brilliant. I found it so much easier creating with these, and they stack as well, so you can stack one on top of the other if you've got different ephemera packs like Simple Stories do. So one with journaling pieces and one with bits and pieces. You can use one tray for each pack to keep them separate. So there's that pumpkin time piece that's just going to overlap onto that pumpkin on the right. And then this word phrase that does end up at the top that just says "more pumpkins please," that's from the Spice laser cut elements. And then I'm going to bring in another piece that's from the Vintage Orchard ephemera pack that says "Awesome Autumn." I just really like that. So that's there. And then of course one of my craft tabs that have been punched from a scrap of craft card using my EK Success tab punch. So adding a couple of ribbon loops to the left here, one in black gingham and then another one in that vanilla coloured and white stripe. And then back into the laser cuts just to see what else I can find. Straight away I see this cartwheel, and I just think that fits really nicely with the feel of this layout, so I'm just going to add that to the left. Obviously another circular element to match the circular pumpkins. And then a stamp on the right hand side that's just got loads of pumpkins on it, and I just thought that would add balance because I've added that wheel to the left. I wanted to add something to the right. And then in the Vintage Orchard ephemera pack, I find this little book plate that says "Memories." So just adding that underneath the title. And then I'm going to stamp the date on a scrap of white cardstock, 31st of October 2016. And I have got a few more pictures from this day, so I'm not going to add any journaling onto this layout because there are some other ones that I can add journaling onto. So just to finish off, I wanted to add some black splatters, but first of all I wanted to add a couple of tangles of black thread. I just felt that would provide me a little bit more balance along the bottom of the page. I felt it wasn't quite there, so just adding these couple of loops of thread really does that. So one on the right hand side here, which I'll just attach underneath those pumpkins with a bit of the Nuvo adhesive, and I do add a couple of dots onto the pieces that are running free as well, just to keep them in place. And then another tangle on the left hand side between the wheel and that bottom pumpkin. So I'm just doing this slightly different from just scrunching it up in my hand. I decided to wrap it around my fingers to try and create more of a circular feel to it. So now that's down, I'm going to add some splatters using my Tim Holtz watercolour pencils, just grabbing the black soot one and just adding a bit of water to that, and then flicking the very thin paintbrush just around those pumpkin patches really, just to add a few black splatters. I just felt that really finished the layout off, and that's pretty much it done. So just a few more splatters and that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I shall see you next time. Bye.